show for all your latest UFC news and rumors. It's Brian Coyle. It's Sean Stanley. It's the TFM Live podcast. And it's now.
Welcome, everybody, to the special UFC 194 preview podcast, courtesy of the FullMountMMA.com. This is TFM Live. I am Brian Coyle. I am joined alongside Sean Stanley. Sean, it's happening. It's going to happen. Seriously, for reals. UFC 194, Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor, Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, Jacare Souza. I'm so excited I say his name wrong. Yoel Romero, Damian Maia, Gunnar Nelson, Max Holloway, Jeremy Stephens, Uriah Faber, Frankie Saenz, Tisha Torres. Oh my goodness, there's so much. Don McDeshie's on the early previews. Jeez, man, there's so much. Where do we start?
I don't even know where to start on this one. And all I can say is it's going to happen, man. It's going to happen.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. We're recording this on Wednesday night, and that will prove how excited we are. It's really late on Wednesday night, and we're really just jacked up to talk about this fight. So let's start on the prelim card. Let's start with Faber and Frankie Saenz, because this is no gimme for Uriah Faber. By any stretch of the imagination, Frankie Saenz is a dangerous fighter.
Yes, no, 100%. I'm looking at, some of his wins. He's on a
Uri Alcantara, Serin Kakai. This is a very dangerous thing for Faber, because Faber has been, he's a legend, of course, in the game, but he's been in a lot of stuff outside of the octagon, obviously with the tough 2020 season with Conor McGregor. He's had the whole TJ Dillashaw, Team Alpha Male situation going on. He's right for the picking. I don't think he's going to lose, but this is a very interesting position for the once former champion.
I guess we see if McGregor got in his head during the Ultimate
Pretty
Fighter.
much the former WEC champion. Faber is the kind of guy who can do it all. We talked about Frankie Edgar in our previous podcast, which you can listen to right now on the FullMountMMA.com. He's kind of one of those all-around guys. He's very strong in the submission game, but he can strike when he needs to. He's very strong with his takedown game, obviously coming out of Team Alpha Male. He's got quick hands. He can move very, very well. He can stick and move. But Frankie Saenz is the kind of guy. He's very well-rounded. He's very strong in his takedown game. He can strike. He hasn't had as many submissions, but he's 11-2, the number 13 ranked bantamweight. So this is an opportunity for him on the biggest stage possible. This is the free fight on Fox Sports 1 that will lead us in to UFC 194, where a lot of eyes will be watching. If he takes down Faber, this could catapult him really high into the bantamweight division.
No, definitely. And you wonder if this is the Uriah Faber is now the stepping stone for this division, or is he going to stand foot here and win this fight? I don't think. I think he'll end up winning this fight, but I don't think. A lot of people think when Faber fights, it's going to be a pretty simple fight, and as you said, I think with this one, it's going to be a lot tougher than people give it up. And I think it's going to be a good fight to end the undercard and get us ready for the main card.
If Faber wins, that matchup with TJ Dillashaw could loom. It's there for the taking. I don't know if he will deserve a title shot. I don't know if TJ Dillashaw, frankly, will get past Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, big if.
Honestly, I think Cruz is may have the advantage in that fight, believe it or not. The guy coming off of so many injuries. Dillashaw's fantastic, don't get me wrong. But, he destroyed Renan Barão, who was clearly not ready for him. But the bantamweight division gets much more interesting if Frankie Saenz can pull off the upset here.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting on to the – no, continue. What were you going to say?
No, I was saying that definitely would make it a lot more interesting, that division.
We've said the word interesting a lot in both of these podcasts, and that's because everything is very interesting. Everything is just makes me want to learn more about each one of these fights, each one of these
Yeah.
fighters. And we need to come up with synonyms, Sean, for some of the adjectives that we've been using.
Yeah, I wish we. I'm almost about ready to open up something here because every fight, even like some of these other fights, like we're looking at this, the undercard, Faber Science, and you look at that fight, it may end up having a major effect on their division.
Absolutely.
And you look at these fights, and you may look at it and be like, "Oh, look at this," but the way these fights could turn out and what could come of these fights, could change some of these divisions and the way the for pay-per-views to come, and I don't know any pay-per-view that can get better than this one that we're about to speak of, but with some of these fights that happen and matchups that you see that could be in the future, it's nothing but exciting.
I mean, these guys, Frankie Stein's a former wrestler. He's won all 3 of his UFC fights. Faber can transition. He can go back and forth. Stein is very aggressive. He's going to push the pace. If Faber cuts the wrong angle, if he does, it's going to be very fun. And this will lead right into a fight where, if you want to watch 2 dudes literally just throw, Max Holloway and Jeremy Stephens is a fantastic way to start off the UFC 194 fight card. My goodness, has this card is this card loaded more than anything that I've ever seen.
We are previewing the main card.
Oh, the heck was that?
That was my fault.
You doing some research while we're pulling this up?
I'm just looking at some things that were said of the Stevens Holloway. So I was just looking at some of the.
Which I don't blame you. What I do blame is autoplay. It's the worst invention known to man on the internet.
I can agree with that.
Which is why we here at thefullmountenmma.com do not use autoplay in our videos. So you can watch them whenever you want. Not when you open up the webpage, because I know how annoying that is. ESPN.com, FoxSports.com, every website known to man. I'm not just picking on
Except for the
sites.
FullMountMMA.com.
See, this is why we're here. This is why people can read our stuff. It's do it on your own time. People are busy. I understand. It's all right. We're here for you. We're here.
Champion.
See that? Add MMA Junkie to the list.
They do a terrific job.
No, I'm kidding. I kid.
The USA Today subsidiary, of course. But Jeremy Stephens, man, can this dude throw? He's dangerous. Dangerous fighter here. Steve, he's a puncher. That's it. He's brutal. He's going to fight you. Legitimately fight you and try to win. It's not beautiful. He's 24-11 over the span of his entire MMA career. He's coming off of a win against Dennis Bermudez, but I believe he missed weight in that fight, so he didn't get punished for that. And his previous 2 fights were against Cub Swanson and Charles Oliveira, which he both lost by decision, but I remember being both very close fights. So Stephens is one of those guys that it's not going to be pretty for the other guy. You're going to come out with some scars. You're going to come out with some cuts. You're going to come out with some blood somewhere coming out of your face. Holloway's kind of been up and down. He's 14-3, 10-3 in the UFC. He was the kind of fighter that he doesn't rely solely on his knockout potential, but I think this is the kind of fight where if he goes out and beats a Jeremy Stephens, it's like, all right, we can take him a little bit more, I don't want to say seriously because he's the number 5th ranked featherweight here. But his striking is something interesting. He's beaten Cub Swanson. He's beaten Charles Oliveira. Those are 2 guys I just mentioned that had lost, that had beaten Jeremy Stephens. I think Stephens is going to win here. Just on brute force alone. That's my kind of thought here. Holloway may have more in his repertoire, but I just kind of like the power matchup here. What do you think?
I'm going with Holloway with the speed, man. I mean, when he took on Hold on, man, who was it? I think it was Oliveira.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just the speed that he showed. He was in and out before, Oliveira, and I just think that, he's got the speed advantage. And now again, if Stevens gets a hold of him or lands one of those punches, I mean, again, I think that'll change the complexion of the thing. But I think if Holloway can get that speed working for him, he can get in and out. He can use that speed, and I think that could be a difference maker in this. I mean, but you get hit with his power. We're gonna be talking a quick night for Mr. Holloway.
Holloway is the
what I
favorite.
found interesting? I was looking at this that they're actually friends, and they've trained together at times. So it's pretty interesting that you see this happening. And Holloway asked for the fight because he knew he had to fight the best to try to get in line for a title fight. So just that's the world of UFC.
I mean, it's the way. Like, if he has to go through him, so be it. The reason why I kind of lean towards Stevens, even though I think he's a heavy betting underdog at plus 425. Dennis Bermudez was pretty quick too, and Stevens had 3 rounds to knock him out.
Yeah,
and that third round, he got to work. So I'm very, very tepid on Holloway, just in the fact that Stevens can land one and he's out. And while that fight will be full of striking, full of punching, excuse me, if you want to watch a clinic on how to grapple, well, you're in luck, because Gunnar Nelson and Damian Maia are going to deliver, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maia, of course, the legendary Brazilian. Gunnar Nelson, I mean, I would call him the silent assassin, given the fact that he doesn't really seem to talk that much, like, period. He's mostly known for being the one non-Irish dude in Conor McGregor's camp, besides his training partner. He's from Iceland. They kind of, they're neighbors. It's cool. But seriously, Gunnar Nelson, this is a really great fight for him, because Damian Maia is coming off of absolutely outclassing and destroying Neil Magny.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's a legendary 38-year-old fighter from Brazil.
Yep.
He's coming off of on a 3-fight win streak, beating Alexander Yakovlev, Ryan LaFleur, Neil Magny. What do you think about this one?
I mean, you said it. It's going to be a clinic on the grappling. I mean, you're looking at an 11-year age difference. Is that going to play anything in it? I mean, you got Nelson. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt by Renzo Gracie. I mean, so he's got the credentials to do it.
Oh, for sure.
Only loss right now is to Rick Story. That was a split decision, and other than that, he's pretty much 3 submission wins and a decision win over Jorge Santiago. He's beaten Omari. I'm gonna try to say this name as best as I can. Akhmedov, Zach Cummings, and then Brandon Thatch. So I mean, it's gonna be a
jiu-jitsu fight for the ages.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see. And again, you're going to get your maybe your casual fans are kind of look at this fight and be like, well, they're
popcorn fight.
Yeah, but I mean, if you understand, this is kind of the fight that you look for. Watch the transitions, maybe how one he blocks it was something and he transitions to something else. You're going to see, I believe, that in this fight. And all it's going to come down to is somebody making maybe that one mistake, and just like that, it could be over.
I'm going to pick Gunnar Nelson here, and here's why. Nelson is a terrific chain wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets Maia up against the cage and kind of throw in some knees, and some ground and pound, some elbows, Maia's stand-up game has kind of obviously changed. He's changed as a fighter as he's gotten older. It's a lot of guys do. He doesn't have as much power as he used to. I mean, he's dangerous. I'm not throwing Damian Maia under the bus by any stretch of the imagination. Terrific grappler, terrific fighter just in general. But I have a feeling Nelson will be able to kind of put him in a position where he doesn't want to be and kind of unload. And I don't know if this ends by stoppage in the 3rd round. Well, I'm kind of seeing it going here. But I would take Nelson if he can stay out of bottom position and keep Maya moving and keeping things going rather than stay in one spot. So I got Gunnar Nelson here. You taking the vet or you taking Nelson?
My mind is telling me Nelson, but I'm going to be different. I'm going to go with Maya. I'm going to go with Maya, and I think something out of the unknown. I think they're going to be in the grapple or whatever, and he's just going to catch him with something, a little dirty boxing move or something out of the ordinary, and it's going to help Maya propel him to a victory. It's going to be a stoppage by Maya in the second round.
I'm worried about a Maya rear naked choke. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but I think it's going to be something that we don't expect because we expect this to be such a, jiu-jitsu classic. I think it's going to end up coming down to something to where, wait a minute, I didn't know that was in his repertoire or something like that, to where it's like something that Nelson wasn't prepared for. He catches him with a quick little elbow, kind of stuns him, and then maybe gets around to be able to sink in the rear naked choke. But I think he's going to end up stopping him in the second round. I'm going to go with Maya.
All right. So we're 2 for 2 on disagreeing on fights so far.
Yeah.
I have Jeremy Stevens. You have Max Holloway. I have Gunnar Nelson. You have Damian Maya. Let's see if we can make it 3 for 3 here. Jacare Souza and Yoel Romero. This is the third best fight on the card, and I don't know how that's humanly possible when these two dudes are fighting. Jacare, I mean, you can make an argument for both of these dudes. I mean, especially Souza, they could be fighting for the title right now. The problem is Luke Rockhold is there, and I mean, he absolutely annihilated Lyoto Machida, similar to Yoel Romero.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
This is perfect because you were there.
Yes, and it was
when Yoel Romero defeated Lyoto Machida.
Yeah, and he did such a dominating job. And, minus the extracurricular at the end, which a lot of people totally forgot about the fight, that how he dominated so much because of...
And we still don't know what he's actually said at this point.
Yeah, no, we don't know, but what it's been hinted at or whatever. But, the fact that it took away from what he did in that fight. I mean, I have not seen, Machida look that normal. I mean, that right human, yeah, exactly, that human in a fight in the octagon. It was just like he had no answer for anything he did. And what was funny was we were there the day before. They do the stretching, for the media to do the pictures and everything, and he was so relaxed and like ready for that moment. It was almost like hey, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah,
and he made everything of that spot, and like Machida was kind of hesitant and things like that, and he seems like he's ready for that moment, and he's just waiting for it.
And I'm struggling with this one. Neither fighter has lost since entering the UFC. Souza 5-0, Romero 6-0, Chris Carmozzi twice, Yushin Okami, Gary Armour-Sassi. That's a couple of the guys that the Brazilian has beaten over his career, and of course the Lyoto Machida win, which you got to see in person, and the Tim Kennedy controversial win. Man, I can't get the image of Romero running train over Lyoto Machida out of my head right now.
No, that is my problem, and that's kind of why I'm siding with Romero on this fight, just because of what I saw in that fight. I can't get that out of my head. I can't, and I'm not saying he's going to probably maybe do the same thing with Souza, but just the way he made Machida look so human, so normal. That doesn't happen often, and it did. And like I said, when he was there and he was with the media and he was talking and they were asking him questions, and almost like to see how he was going to answer them, and it was just cool, calm, collected. I'm supposed to be here. I was put here to do this. This is what I'm here to do. This is a business. This is a job. And he went in there, and you hear that all the time from people, but he went in there and just did it the night of the lights turning on. He went in and did exactly what he said. And to me, that confidence just tells me where he is as a fighter. He knows where he is and what he can do. And I don't see him getting stopped. I don't. Not in this fight.
And is it me, or does Yoel Romero look like a light heavyweight fighting at 185? Like, the dude is literally, like, when you look at him, he's a tank.
Yeah.
I'm going Romero here, which is, I mean, surprising, number one, that we agree. And number two, those jumping knees when he just it kind of throws out of nowhere, and I don't want to like it's weird. Sousa's the favorite. He's the betting favorite here. The way Sousa's gonna win if he gets into the clinch and takes Romero to the ground. Well, Romero, silver medalist in Olympic wrestling.
Yep.
So.
And another thing that he does, like when I was talking about before the fight with Machida, is what was weird to me was like Machida went second, but at the time I didn't realize it. But Romero was in there kind of just unorthodox, kind of like doing different thing. I was like, what is that? He was doing like jumping elbows, bouncing off the cage with like Superman punch. I'm like, Machida went in there and kind of just did some kicks and his normal stuff. And I was like, and then you start seeing him in a fight, and he starts throwing things out of everywhere. And it's almost like, that's kind of like where he's trying to get into that fighter where you don't know what's going to come.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen when he's in there. And we'll get to unorthodox fighters in the main event as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Romero's the pick here. And just because of the fact that he's just really, really dangerous. And I think Sousa not getting the Weidman fight, I think Rockhold getting it instead, could this be the closest he ever gets if he loses to Romero? Because, I mean, of course he was very dangerous in Strikeforce, but with a guy like Yoel Romero in front of him, I think there's a lot of pressure on Sousa to get this done. Because Romero only got 11 total MMA bouts, which is pretty nuts for a guy who could be as dangerous as he is.
Yeah. Now
we are jumping into co-main event territory. Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, Northeast guy here, New York guy here. My parents grew up in New York. A little, again, kind of lean towards my heritage here, like I did with Edgar. This is going to be the most competitive fight of the night. I think, bar none, I think these two guys they match up incredibly well against each other. I think it's incredibly even. What do you see happening here? Because they're both great wrestlers. They're both great strikers. They both have put away Brazilian legends. Like, where do you want to go from here?
I don't even know where to start with either one of these next two fights, honestly. But as you said, I think this one, on paper, is probably the most even of the fights that you're going to see on this night. But I mean, I'm just looking at the names of the fighters that they've beaten. You see Belfort, Bisping, Machida, Silva, Boach, different things like that. But I mean, those are the guys these guys have beaten in their last, Weidman's won his last. I got 5 fights here on my screen that I'm looking at here. He's 13-0. Rockhold's 14-2.
Rockhold's won a title before. He beat Jacare Souza for the Strikeforce title. Defended against Keith Jardine back in 2012. He's beaten Tim Kennedy. Yep. He's beaten Kostas Philippou.
I mean, he's gone the distance in championship fights twice. I mean, but I don't know. To me, again, I kind of like how I said with the Maia fight. I think it's gonna, we're sitting here, we're looking. I just with a lot of these fights, I think it's gonna be somebody making a mistake, thinking they've got the opponent scouted out and they know what he's gonna do. And it's a little, I don't want to say like sneaky underhanded type thing, but a sneaky move they do. I think for me, if I'm a betting man, I'm putting my money on Weidman. I don't know why. I look at the resume, I look at everything that he's done, how the fights he's done, and I just do not see. I mean, Weidman. To me,
he's undefeated for a reason.
Yeah, and he's the champion, and I just also
you sound like you're struggling with this one a little bit.
I'm struggling with it because I think he's gonna stop him, but I don't know if Rockhold, it's hard to pick against Rockhold at the same time, but I think Weidman is gonna be able to pull it out. I just think he's shown that he can kind of change and flip and go toward his opponents like weaknesses and things like that. Not saying Rockhold's got a lot of weaknesses, but he seems to be able to pinpoint that. And I think he's a champion for a reason, and he's undefeated for a reason. And I'm not going against that if I had money to bet on. I'm going with Weidman to win. And I'm actually going to go and say third round win.
Interesting. The way I look at it is this. You've got an All-American wrestler in Weidman, the pride of Hofstra, Long Island, Strong Island representing in this one.
Man, you throwing out the location too.
Oh, please. I mean, come on. There's not many New York MMA fighters that are this talented, with the exception of, John Jones. But when you look at this, it's a wrestler and an athlete. Rockhold is a terrific, one of the most athletic dudes I've ever seen in the octagon, period. His striking is vicious. He outclassed, schooled, knocked every bit of veteran experience out of Lyoto Machida in his last fight. He's had a long build-up. He wants this bad. He's beaten Michael Bisping. He's submitted Tim Boetsch. He's knocked out Philippou, Keith Jardine, defeated he's really good, man. He's very, very talented. However, I just think Weidman all around, is better at what Rockhold is. Rockhold is elite when it comes to kicking. He's elite when it comes to his wrestling. He's elite in these categories. I think Weidman is just a little bit better in every stretch. I think fighting in the pocket's going to be a big deal. I think dirty boxing is going to come into a huge deal here. If Weidman can push him back and keep the pressure on him and not let Rockhold kind of use, he's got some good range. He's got a very strong right hook. I think this fight kind of stays up, given the fact that they'll both try to take each other down, but they'll both kind of get out of it because they're both very, very deceptively quick and strong on the ground. I think there's a lot of movement in this. I don't think this is on the level that the Rory McDonald Robbie Lawler fight was on when it comes to the best fight of the nights, fight of the year candidates. But I think it's really close, man. It's Rockhold's got the range. Weidman's got, I think, just that champion mentality. Rockhold wants it. Weidman has it. And I don't think Rockhold can take it away from Weidman at this stage in the game. Maybe in a little while. And Weidman has fought, the argument against Weidman, he's fought like old Brazilians. Literally his past 4 fights, he's fought old Brazilians.
Yeah.
In Anderson Silva, Lyoto Machida, and Vitor Belfort.
Do you think that build-up for Rockhold could play into, we've seen it, we talked about it on the podcast that we released on Thursday with at the beginning, we were talking about Rousey. You had all these opponents getting jacked up to take her on and then not making it happen. They got so into the moment that it failed them. And do you think that Rockhold or Weidman can use that against Rockhold, or do you think Rockhold's just that good to where it's not going to matter either way?
I think it might have a little bit of an impact. I would not be shocked either way if this ends in. I'd be shocked if it ended in a stoppage. With Rockhold knocking out Weidman or submitting him, especially Weidman's wrestling background. I just think Weidman's got the edge.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy I would put, but I think this is going to be a terrific fight. And that's pretty much it, right? We don't have anything else to talk about.
Yeah, I can't. I think that's everything. I think we covered it all.
Oh, wait. This is finally happening. Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor for the unified featherweight
That's right.
championship.
They are on this card, aren't they?
Yeah, they're on this card. People are making picks all over the place. Let's talk about this before we get to our picks here. You wrote an article explaining why Jose Aldo will win. Can you summarize that for the people and explain a little bit about why Aldo has the advantage over McGregor?
To me, when he is the champion, we've talked about this, and it seems like we just keep saying the things over and over and over again. But the way I look at this is Jose Aldo, which you can go to thefullmountmma.com and check out the article I wrote. But to me, there are three reasons, and this is in no, order or anything, but to me, his striking ability. Aldo's one of, the best on his feet, and also he's one of the best of using his feet and his kicks.
Sure.
So then you got his favorite point, one of his combinations, is a punch to the liver followed by a leg kick, which is one thing that he does a lot, is the combinations. He puts combinations together with his feet, his punches. So his striking, to me, it could be an advantage to him. Something else to me that, that he's a black belt also, So not only can, he might not go for takedowns a lot, but once he's on the mat, he's good at passing guard, and then, of course, once he's in down position, I mean, it's probably going to be game over if it gets to that, And, McGregor, albeit many moons ago, 2 quick submission losses are kind of like his stumbling blocks on his resume. So, and to me, the biggest thing to me, and it could be vice versa, is this: McGregor's done all the talking.
He has.
He's got everything to back up in this fight.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, as long as Aldo did not for some reason let him get in his head up to this thing, I think those are some of the things he can get in there, use his athleticism, his technique, and execute a game plan against McGregor. I think the Notorious One may get shut up.
See, I think that Conor McGregor has a beach house in the frontal lobe of Jose Aldo's brain right now. He's set up there probably since July.
Well, some of the things that he's been quiet for so long, I think you may be right too. That's why I was saying the pressure could be both ways, because he may just be not talking because the pressure's already got to him.
Yeah.
So,
what I want to kind of piggyback on what you said, Aldo's technique and fundamentals are better than anyone's. Pound for pound, top fighter around 10 years without a loss. He's beaten some of the greats. The way Aldo fights, those vicious kicks, you can't feel your legs. I remember.
Ask Faber.
For months, like you can't, like you're not walking right.
Well, Kenny Florian. Interesting thing was, I was reading an article in there. He actually, after he fought Aldo, he said he had a game on the inside of his thighs. It killed the nerves. He'd been kicked so many times in his leg. Mm-hmm. It took him 3 months to get the full feeling back in his legs. So every day he would play a game where he'd try to, rub down his leg or whatever to see if he could feel it that day. And it turned into a game. It took him 3 months to get the feeling back in his leg after Aldo's kicks.
And I'm glad you mentioned Kenny Florian, because what is Kenny Florian different than any other fighter that besides McGregor that Aldo has faced in his entire career? He's a southpaw. That's what you're getting with Conor McGregor. And he's hitting the inside leg rather than the lead leg at this point when it comes to those vicious leg kicks, which we all know and love. That's a staple of Jose Aldo's. Aldo is a supersized, super strong Mendez when it comes to those punches that he throws. It is incredibly powerful for somebody who's framed the way you look at it. He doesn't look as strong. I mean, watching their stare down today on Wednesday, it was very interesting to see. He did not look. I mean, I'm going to stop trying to use the word interesting because I've used it way too many times. But he looked like a mob boss in his purple suit, didn't look McGregor in the eye at all, shrugged him off, toothpick in the mouth, did it, got off. I don't know. We don't know what's going through Jose Aldo's mind. There was the retirement rumor that he shot down, but his training partner said that, so it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff revolving around Aldo with this fight. He doesn't seem like he'd love. I mean, the build-up leading up to it, the first time he was all in. He started off the war of words. He flipped them off in Brazil. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing. Aldo's never faced anybody like McGregor. And as much as I love the way Jose Aldo fights, I wrote an article to combat your article. We wanted Conor McGregor is going to beat Aldo. And you can see it on the fullmountmma.com. There's a couple of reasons why. You mentioned pressure. I'm going to mention a different type of pressure because the great constant in Conor McGregor is pressure. He's always pushing forward. He always has his opponent on his back foot. He's always moving. He's always going side to side. Aldo wants this to be a slow, tactical fight. He wants to be able to measure and line and kick and combo and do all of this stuff. McGregor is the weirdest dude that I've ever seen fight, period. I described it as elegant unpredictability. Because when you watch him move around, and if you watch the UFC embedded, he's got a movement coach. He does all these crazy things. He looks like he's doing Tai Chi out there, like something like crazy. He looks like he's winding up like Daniel LaRusso in The Karate Kid, almost. He's a southpaw. He's unpredictable. His kicks come from different angles. It's never the same. Even if he starts off every round with that stupid kick, that spinning back kick, or that front kick. You know it's coming, but you guys are always hit by it. And that front kick, I think, is a very important thing as well. Because regardless of all those ribs is healed or not, nobody likes getting kicked in the stomach. Mm-mm. Nobody likes getting kicked in the ribs.
Nope.
Part of the reason why Mendez was so gassed early on, because he got kicked in the liver, he got kicked in the ribs, he got kicked in the stomach, he was breathing heavy. Body blows make a real difference, especially with someone like Aldo, who seemed gassed later on in his fights. Even though he's won, he seemed more tired. I mean, of course he's going to be more tired as the fight, but he seemed like he couldn't make it all the way. He's just so different, McGregor, compared to everybody else that Aldo's ever fought. Even if Florian was a southpaw, McGregor is a southpaw, but he doesn't keep his hands up. He's kind of picking and choosing. He's kind of like pawing at him almost. Now, I don't know how Aldo's going to react to that, because McGregor's got that jab, which he kind of paws with. And then he throws that uppercut, that right uppercut. He kind of brings him in with that hook and then knocks him right when he's close in the pocket with that uppercut. That left hand, it knocked out Chad Mendes. It's knocked out a couple other guys. It's very dangerous. If he keeps the pressure on Aldo, and Aldo's not allowed to stand and throw and stand and kick and stand and measure, and he's moving, I think Aldo, if he doesn't have the time to kind of leap against the cage and do a Superman kick or any of these kinds of things, it throws him off completely. Aldo wants this to be Hagler Hearns. He wants this to be just, let's freaking throw. Like McDonald and Lawler did at UFC 189. Throw and see what happens. I think if McGregor can push the pace, if he can keep the pressure on, if he can keep him off balance, he can find spots. He's got 25 minutes to do it. Don't knock him out in 4 minutes, because that's not going to happen, regardless of whether Mystic Mac thinks he's predicting it or not. I think McGregor's got a real shot here to do some real crazy stuff and beat Jose Aldo. Now, after hearing all of this, after reading both of our articles, who is your pick for this fight?
You know, thinking about this, because I knew we were going to be doing this podcast all day. And you know what? I didn't even make my mind up until I was sitting here. I'm looking at him right now. I'm just, you know what? I'm going to go with the man I wrote my article about.
You're going to go with Jose Aldo.
I'm going Jose Aldo. And this one of the reasons why I'm going to do this is because I think the Rousey effect is going to hit Conor McGregor square in the face at this pay-per-view.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You don't want to get fooled by the second time around. I
think that he's just done. He's been doing so much. He's been the one doing all the publicity for this fight. I don't think I've seen Jose Aldo once.
Now, granted, McGregor, I mean, they taped The Ultimate Fighter way in advance.
It's way advanced. So, that's true.
I feel like McGregor did a lot more publicity for the first fight rather than the second fight.
Well, no, yeah, he wasn't on the road like he was for everything, but he was still the one that, if something needed to be done, he was the one doing it. You didn't see Jose Aldo's camp doing any of this, and I think Aldo's got more to prove in this fight.
He does.
McGregor does.
Which is incredible.
He hasn't lost in 10 years. He's the one that's got something to prove. To me, this is like, okay, we got the animal corner. We got him backed into the corner. What happens usually? You get the best from that animal. You get the best fight, and I think that's what you're going to get at UFC 194. Jose Aldo is your featherweight champion at the end.
Now, do you have a decision or you have a stoppage?
No, I just think that there is so much disdain in these two.
Oh, boy.
That, it's going to be late. I don't think it's going to be like a first round, second round. I think in the later championship rounds, I think both of them are probably going to be gassed, and I think he's going to start putting those kicks on and end up winning it. I don't know if it's going to go a decision. I just think there's so much disdain between these two that, I think McGregor. I don't want to speak, like what they think, but to me, I think the way to cement this fight is to go out there and win it, not leave it in the judge's hands. You go out there and you go for the kill, and I think that may affect one or the other. But I got Aldo. I got Aldo in the championship rounds. I'll say fourth round.
Now, I think this fight is going the distance. Number one. Number two. Jose Aldo wants this fight to be in the pocket. He wants it to be close. Conor McGregor thrives at keeping the distance between him and the fighter. He doesn't keep his hands up that much because he doesn't want to get hit close. If he does get hit, as he got really pretty brutalized in that first round. He was bleeding.
Yeah, he was.
Against Chad Mendes. And what did Conor McGregor do when he was punched in the face? He looked square into Chad Mendes' eyes and said, "Is that all you got?" What did he do when he was on the ground? He tired him out. He didn't give up. He didn't do anything, but he didn't give up. I think Conor McGregor wins this fight by decision and beats Jose Aldo. And I think they do it again because it's going to be by decision. I think the UFC gets what they want because they want McGregor to win this fight. It's no secret.
Oh, no.
Jose Aldo wins this fight.
Yep.
It's such a wind out of the sails of the UFC.
Yes.
For the sport. For us, of course, it's going to be more fun to write about Conor McGregor than it is about Jose Aldo.
Yes.
I legitimately
I agree 100%.
think that McGregor is going to win because of the fact that we haven't heard much from Aldo. That training camp has had some weird stuff going on in it.
Yeah, but could that be a smokescreen?
It could be. We don't know. We're not.
We're not privy to that information. We don't know what. All we get is whatever has been supposedly leaked out by the camp, if that's even where the information is coming from. So, could this be a ploy?
I just really think when I watch McGregor, I think he's got the training. He says he's in the best shape he's ever been in. And I think both of these guys are healthy. That's the most important part. McGregor had a knee injury, partially torn something. I think it was an MCL.
Yeah, I think he said MCL. I believe he said MCL.
Given the fact that he fought pretty hard against Mendes. For some reason, I feel like Conor's going to do it. I feel like he's going to beat him. I just see it happening where I think Aldo's going to come out hot. And I think McGregor's kind of want to play catch with him a little bit, kind of move around. I think it's the movement which is going to throw Aldo. He's just so unnatural. It's so different. He's like a ballerina out there, which is weird because, it's a cage fight. But when he kind of moves around and he can pick his spots and choose, Aldo's never faced somebody who can kick like McGregor. That's for sure.
No, that's 100% true. 100% true.
And the angles at which McGregor's kicks come in and out, and he can take that 25 minutes and find a spot where he can hit him and nail him. And if he does get him, he's going to jump right on him. And I think if McGregor does catch him, it's over.
But do you think McGregor's going to wait the 25 minutes to try and put him away?
I think he will.
Okay.
I think he might come out hot a little bit in the beginning. I think they both might. I think we might get like a brawl for the first 2 minutes, and they'll be like, whoa, hold on a little bit. Let's figure this out. Because Conor he showed patience to me against Mendes.
Yes.
I saw it kind of like, okay, he's waiting. He's not in trouble. He should be in trouble, but he's not. And I just, for some reason, I feel like unless Aldo can really get him hurt early and really kind of tee off on him, and if Aldo's fast, if McGregor's not fast enough, this thing's over within 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. Like if this movement stuff is a bunch of BS, I mean, we know how elite his speed is, his agility, his flexibility. We know all that. But if Aldo can nullify the advantage, it's done. But if he can't catch up to him, I don't think he can catch him. And I think McGregor can utilize that to his advantage, tire Aldo out, charge him, stay off of the ground. I think you're right when it comes to Aldo. If Aldo wants to go to the ground, and we don't know McGregor's ground game at all,
mm-hmm.
I think Aldo's best chance is an early knockout or a submission. Other than that, I see Conor having the edge, which is crazy because, Aldo hasn't lost in 10 freaking years, and he's only 29. But just the injuries, the fragility, the silent not talking at all. This guy is really screwed up about McGregor talking so much. I mean, the guy is in his head, clearly. I just hope McGregor's got that confidence. And I hope it's not an all act, because he needs that to be true confident. Because you can't go into this fight thinking you're going to beat Jose Aldo. Any normal human being can't go into this fight thinking, I am going to beat him in the first round. I hope Conor's got that kind of confidence about him, because he's going to need it against a guy this. And I toil about this, even writing my article, because I'm a big fan of the way McGregor fights because of the uniqueness, and he does, like, watching him, breaking him down is so interesting. Just see where he's all going. But I got McGregor in 5. And if that happens, man, we're going to have a tyrannical dictator at 145. And it opens up so many possibilities. Trash talk wise, because I want to see Cowboy Cerrone and McGregor, just yell at each other for like an hour straight, which would be nice. But if McGregor wins, this guy's gonna be the biggest draw possibly in the last 20 years since Mike Tyson. Like he really has that aura about him, but he has to do it, and he has to beat Jose Aldo, and it's gonna be fun. That's all I know. It's not gonna underdeliver. I don't think either of them takes a chump way out and gets knocked out early. I don't think that's going to happen. I hope not, at least. But
I don't see it happening early, but I think either way, even if my pick is wrong, I don't think it goes the distance, man. I just think there's so much animosity that when one of these guys smells the blood, and again, they got to get there to smell the blood. I mean, if they keep it, just kind of, on the feet every once in a while, land a couple shots, move around, and things like that. And I guess if McGregor kind of dictates the pace, it may go the 5. But to me, I think all this has been smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think Aldo's going to come out on fire, and I think you're going to see a focused. Well, I'm hoping you'll see a focused and the athletic and the technical Jose Aldo, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, all I know is next week's podcast is going to be fun. Either I'm going to be really right or I'm going to be really wrong. So,
and then I'll be really right.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. So Saturday night's going to be amazing. If you're on the fence, like, maybe I should watch it, but I can watch the Sports Center highlights or whatever. No, buy the fight. It's going to be amazing. even if although McGregor doesn't deliver, there's 4 other fights that will deliver. I mean, the hype for this thing has been insane, but it's going to live up to expectations. I have no doubt in my mind.
Agree.
So, can't wait to watch it. I'll be live tweeting about it at BCoyle11. I'll be freaking out like I did at the Holly Holm Ronda Rousey fight.
Yep. I will be at the quarterdeck live tweeting as well.
Nice. There you go. So if you want to, can TFM fans join you at the quarterdeck? Is that
Most definitely. If you're down here at any of the locations, they show the UFC fights all the time. And guess what? Guess what the greatest thing is?
What is the greatest thing about the quarterdeck?
No cover charge.
Yeah, see? Look at that. You know, get some nice wings, go to the bar, get some beers, have a good time. And you're also in Miami, which is nice, you know?
Yes.
It's not like, you know.
Yes.
It's not like it's cold.
No, it is cold down here right now. It's at a brisk 72 degrees.
I hate you. I really do. God damn it.
And they say this is our cold front, so.
Nice. Good. Can't wait for my cold front, which is like 30. But I always feel like we backtrack onto the weather at the end of the podcast.
Well, you know, but one thing that won't be cold will be the UFC 194 pay-per-view this Saturday
Oh, that's
night.
going to be hot. It's going to be a hot pay-per-view. I cannot wait for it. So, I mean, Thursday night's fights, probably very interesting. I mean, we're releasing this on a Friday, but we're recording this on the Wednesday. We will be writing. Of course, we'll write about the results of that on Friday. With whatever happens with Sage Northcutt and Cody Pfister.
That's your buddy.
Yeah, he's my pal. Paige Van Zandt, Rose Namajunas. The Frankie Edgar, Chad Mendez fight will be sensational.
I'll be live tweeting during that as well. The Ultimate Fighter one. Yeah.
So yeah.
Tomorrow I will not be able to live tweet, but I will try to get on as I can for the Fight Pass.
At Full Mount, at BCoyle11, at SS Sports Talk. Thank you guys for listening. We'll have a podcast next week breaking all of this down. Who the hell knows what's going to happen, but we'll talk about it because I ate my words the last time we podcasted before pay-per-view. Big time. So let's see if I'm 2 for 2.
Well, we both did, didn't we?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think I kind of went overboard with the fact that there's no chance in hell that Ronda Rousey was going to lose.
Well, I gave her a 5% chance, so yeah, I guess I was better than you.
Which is better than mine.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think I'm rolling with Conor McGregor. I am Irish. It's not a factor. It's just a fact.
Yeah, well, so am I. I got Irish in me, but I think
Stanley. Of course.
I think Jose is going to come through.
Yeah, so Aldo McGregor is going to be sensational. Tune in next week, TFM Live. Remember, you can visit us online, fullmountmma.com, at the Full Mount on Twitter. So stay tuned for next week's show. Certainly going to be a barn burner, regardless of the result. And we'll talk about where the UFC goes from here, regards to its featherweight division, and what stars it still has as top draws. So
that will be one of the most intriguing things.
Very much so. Thank you, Sean. I am Brian. Thank you for listening to TFM Live, the official podcast of TheFullMountMMA.com.
TFM Live podcast is brought to you by TheFullMountMMA.com. Check us out on Twitter at The Full Mount.